Hey, welcome back to our program. We've talked last week a good deal about the National Security Agency and how they continue to reveal, or others continue to reveal about them, that they're gathering just reams of data on every single American. Every telephone call you make, every email that you send, if you Skype, any way you communicate, that information is being gathered in a database that can profile you or any other American. I've got deep concerns about that. I know there's a necessity to gather information, but just as important is how you use that information, how efficient you are in gathering that information. And we've seen some real drops in gathering of information from 9/11 itself, to where there was a number of signs that an attack was going to take place, to where the information was ignored by the FBI and other security agencies. The worst example most recently is this Boston bomber scenario, to where these two young men, both from a country that sides with Russia, where the Russian intelligence agencies called the FBI and said, hey, we got some problems with these two guys. They're in your country. We think you better check them out. We think they're dangerous. They didn't do it one time. They did it two times. We had the information, and the FBI just dropped the ball. They didn't do anything with the information. You could have avoided that terrible massacre that took place in Boston. So it's one thing to have information at hand. It's another thing to what you do with that information. Let me tell you how we're so out of touch, where we're almost the Keystone Cops running with our security agencies. Now, again, they got all this information. What do you do with the information? The President of the United States go to Nelson Mandela's funeral, a tribute to someone that was a major force in freeing South Africa, served in prison for some 27 years, certainly a role model for many young South Africans. President goes to the funeral. He gets up to speak. There is a sign language interpreter 3 feet away from him, 3 feet away. The sign language interpreter doesn't know anything about sign language. A number of reputable sign language groups representing deaf citizens says that it was gibberish. We didn't know what the guy was talking about. He was a fake. He was a complete fake. Then the news reports have come out. Let me read you these news reports. I'm reading not from me, but right off these news reports, that this particular guy, his name is Tamsika Jantke. He was the purported sign language guy that gets up there with his hands to interpret those for the deaf, which is a great thing to do. He is being investigated right now. No, he's been charged with murder, with rape, with kidnapping, and a variety of other crimes in the past. This is who's up. The guy's 3 feet from the President of the United States, and he is an alleged rapist and kidnapper and murderer. And he goes on and he talks about it. He says, well, he was having a lot of personal problems at the time, that angels were speaking to him, and he didn't really have a good grip on his attitude. He was schizophrenic. And he goes on and on to describe all the problems he's having in terms of relating to the job he's doing. He says he's schizophrenic, he's got a lot of problems. This is the guy that's 3 feet away from the President of the United States. Where was the FBI? Where was the Secret Service? Where were all our security agencies that are supposed to be protecting the leader of the free world? They got your telephone logs. They got your emails. They apparently are too busy wading through all the personal data of so many Americans that they can't even focus on who the guy is 3 feet away from the President of the United States. If they drop the ball on that, think of all the other security breaches that are taking place throughout this case. It's just mind-blowing, quite frankly, the inefficiencies that are going on. So we need to have a whole review of our security apparatus, protecting the president, protecting American citizens from invasion of their personal property. We don't have that right now. We've got the Keystone Cops operating within the purview of the FBI and other security agencies, number one. Then we've got data being gathered at random, going into some kind of a database that nobody fully understands, and there's just no focus, there's just no priorities, there are no rules and regulations. Now, you know what we hear all the time, well, but we got to gather this information. If only you knew of the security threats that we were able to discover and stop security events. If only, well, tell us. Give us a couple of examples. Tell us what you're able to do. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you can show that it actually works. But what you do doesn't work. You couldn't stop the Boston bomber, even though you knew from the Russians on 2 occasions these guys are dangerous. You got an accused rapist and murderer 3 feet from the President of the United States. You can't deal with that issue, but you are consumed with gathering information about individual American citizens. Something's rotten in Denmark. Something's rotten in Washington, D.C. Something's rotten within our security apparatus. And American citizens need better answers. They need someone to explain a plan of operation that makes sense, that's going to protect you and me and the president. And right now, we just don't have that. Be back after this message.